they get overlooked because we're a small market sometimes, but that's okay. That's just the way of the world, and it is what it is. You know, not New York, it's not Chicago, it's not San Francisco.
Thank God it's not New York.
But that,
Thank God it's not New York.
I mean the market-wise with people, but I've always said, you know, this is our thing. And, you know, when we went through that run, this is ours. And people that are from the outside that don't understand it, nobody here really cares because you'll understand it after you see it or you pay attention to it. So we're proud of it, and we also know we don't have 16 championships hanging in the rafters like Boston or, you know, 13 like the Lakers or whatever the numbers are, or even 6 like Chicago. But we're proud of our guys being our guys, and that's the way this group has made this city and organization feel like. Yeah.
Or 2 like New York.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's tough for me because I had a really good relationship with David Tisdale, and that didn't work out. Look, I don't want to get banned from Madison Square Garden. I don't need to say anything negative about the owner. He likes to do that to people, so he's got to run his team the way he sees fit. I just think there's a lot of people that wonder what that way actually is.
Well, I'll tell you this. A lot of New York fans are not a big fan of James Dolan. So
yes, you're probably the only one who defends him.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that defends
I'm
him.
not defending him. I don't want to say that because I've had some questions about some of his decisions. But hey, you know, it's his team to run how he sees fit. I think it's you know, it's hard for me because I'm good friends with a lot of those guys, and you know, Brendan Brown was here in Memphis, and he's on their radio call, and Ed Cohen's phenomenal on his calls, and he's just a terrific broadcaster, and it's such an asset for that team. Mike Crispino is great. One of my closest friends is Spiro Titus, who was with them for a while. I have friends that work in their organization, and there's no better guy in our league in terms of especially broadcasters, but anybody as a person than Mike Green. He's a class act all the way, and you know, for a guy at that level to be as humble as he is with what he does is remarkable to me. And you know, when you develop those relationships, guys, you want to see other teams do good things too. You really do. You don't develop bitterness towards any organization unless like it's a rivalry. Like here, there's a rivalry with the Clippers. Yet I'm friends with people that work in the Clippers organization. When we play them, is that a game I get geared up for? Absolutely, because those rivalries with Blake Griffin and Zach Randolph were amazing. But those times are gone now too. So whoever the next rival is for this group, it'll be fun to develop that. But you never want bad things for other teams in the league, and especially for a team like New York, which is, you know, such an amazing city, and you guys have gone through so much in the last 6 months. It's been brutal, and my heart goes out to everybody there. I have so many friends that live there, and it's just totally turned everything upside down.
Eric, 6 months? 6 months? We've been doing this for 30 years.
I mean, just the full pandemic thing.
I know what you mean. I'm just talking about basketball as a whole. 30 years.
Yeah, but you guys got the Yankees and the Mets have been good here and there. And, boy, that's a great park too, Citi Field. And, you know, the Giants and Jets have struggled a little bit as of late, but in previous years they've been solid, formidable teams. So, you know, you want good things for people that work in those places and for the league. It's better. Let's be honest about it, guys. Nobody's going to lie to you. It's better when New York is good, right? When New York has good, formidable playoff caliber teams in every sport, it's better for that league. It just is.
I agree with you, but unfortunately, I don't know when we're actually going to be good. Hopefully, R.J. Barrett and with Rose running the show over there, and hopefully, and I said this, I wrote a story 6 months ago on our network that I believe Tom Thibodeau is the perfect guy for the job, and now all of a sudden you're hearing stories that Tom Thibodeau is their number one candidate. I hope they land Tom. I think Tom fits perfectly. He wants to coach the Knicks. 62 years old. He worked under Jeff Van Gundy. I think it makes a lot of sense to bring a guy like that who preaches defense. And even though it didn't work out with the Timberwolves, I think he can really help out the way the growth of this team needs a defensive-minded coach, something that we haven't had for many, many years.
He's an unbelievable coach. I mean, he orchestrated those defenses with the Boston Celtics with the Big Three, and then took that Chicago franchise to a whole nother level, where I think probably that Minnesota thing didn't quite work out. Coach Thibodeau's not used to working with a really young roster like that, and today's players are different. if anything, I think that benefits him moving forward. But, if you can get players to come to New York and you can get players to be there, some veteran players to mix some of those young pieces, and Coach Thibodeau brings his style, you can flip that fairly quickly, in my opinion. So I think that's a perfect fit as well. I've heard that same rumor you've heard, that that's the guy they're going to target, and we'll see if that gets done. This whole thing's been so crazy with all the free agency now and everything in the draft. People ask me, like, how were you handling this, or were you just bored? And I said, well, for me, we almost played a full season. This is like if we had just missed the playoffs, except we ended a month early. So right now, I'd be getting ready to ramp up to go out to Las Vegas for 10 days for Summer League, which has been a blast, a chance for me to connect with our coaches and young players and cover the games and see the people that are complaining about free trips to Vegas, which always makes me shake my head. But I get when you're working, it's not quite the same. But it's done damage, and that's where not being part of this 22-team thing, I think, is tough for a team like New York, because when you break it down, guys, the Knicks won't play a basketball game for about 300 days. That's about where the range is at, and that's a lot. And so the NBA is trying to figure out something, to what I understand, where they can get these teams some extra time, some work, some chances to be together, so they're not going into next year at a complete and utter disadvantage. So we'll see how that works out. But obviously this is something none of us could have ever planned for. None of us ever would have wished upon the country or anybody else around the world.
Before we let you go, greatest basketball player of all time. I know people are arguing not Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Wilt Chamberlain, Dr. J, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Could you tell the fans, and you've watched enough basketball, who is going to be, even when LeBron James' career is over, who is the greatest basketball player of all time, Eric?
I still think it's going to be an argument between two. And as good as Wilt, Kareem, Bill Russell, who is, I had the pleasure of doing a book signing with, hosting something here in Memphis, and I was terrified because I heard he just doesn't like media, doesn't like people. He was great to me, and we had a long conversation because I looked at his numbers. Bill Russell never scored more than 20 points in a game, or 20 points, not in a game, 20 points a game in a season. And he basically said, because Red Auerbach looked at me and said, I don't need you to score. I need you to rebound, block shots, and play defense. Because I could have scored 30, and I don't doubt it. But you look at all those guys, Oscar Robertson, the greats that have played, Magic, Larry, Dr. J, who was my favorite player growing up. The argument to me comes down to two guys. In the end, no one will ever put up the numbers LeBron is going to put up. He's going to score 40,000 points. He's going to have 10,000 rebounds, 10,000 assists. It's in the cards. But when I talk to players that have played alongside or seen both, and every one of them to a man says it's Michael Jordan, and you look at the difference in the rules today to where they were then, the difference in the level of nutrition and training, Michael was ahead of his time. I would love to see what he could do today. I would go with Michael. It's not disparaging to LeBron James, because what he's done is phenomenal, and he's taken that torch. But I go back to trying to find guys that have been around, and one of my good friends in this league has become Bill Wennington, who played his career at St. John's in college, and then went on to a nice NBA career as a journeyman big man. And Bill and I have maybe shared a beer or 12 in a sitting here or there, and told some stories. And he just said, you have no idea. As much as I know you know the game, you have no idea how different level this guy was unless you were around him. And people say that about LeBron, but I mean, watching all of that Last Dance stuff, I would go there. And it's not, again, I'm also 47, so that's my generation.
I'm not far from you, man. I'm not far from you. I'm 38. I'm getting up there, man.
But when you talk to a 27-year-old or a 25-year-old,
they don't know.
No question in their mind it's LeBron James. And I was like, that's because you didn't see what they did to Michael Jordan. I think that Last Dance opened people's eyes. When you had a book called The Jordan Rules of what they were doing to stop him, that's crazy. And you look at the shots and fouls he took in those games against teams like Detroit, against teams like Boston, against teams like Atlanta, who, despite having Dominique Wilkins and Doc Rivers at the point, Tree Rollins wasn't going to let you come in that lane without knocking you on the butt. And you hear guys say that, and Bill Wennington and some guys I've worked with have said, you didn't go into the lane against Rick Mahorn. And Rick Mahorn was like, yeah, that would have been a mistake because you were not going to leave the lane on your feet. And so that's just a different way than they play today. And for a guy who just could literally score everywhere on the floor, I shudder to think what he would do in today's game and age where we see guys like James Harden getting 10 free throws a night. Michael never had that. Michael was shooting 10, 12 free throws a night. He's scoring 40 a game, just about every night. And so I'm going to go with Michael Jordan, and I know that that's going to not fit well with some people and fit
Good
well
choice.
with others, but that's just one man's opinion.
Good choice. Oh, man. Eric, why don't you tell the fans how they could find you all over social media?
I'm only on Twitter. My story is I was on Instagram for a little bit, and then some 15-year-old in Memphis decided it was a good idea to start flirting with my 15-year-old daughter in California, and I said, well, that'll be enough Instagram. So, as a protective father, I shut that down. I'm always, tweets that are respectful or even questioning, critical, I'm fine with. Tweets that are just ridiculously mean, I don't respond to. But it's just at Eric Hasseltine, and that's where I'm at. Facebook is the same, although it's pretty packed up there. I love hearing from people from around the country, so if people enjoy this and want to shoot a message or ask a question, feel free to get in touch with me anytime. I'm just kind of hanging around, waiting for this to start like everybody else, right?
Absolutely. I will tell you this. I would love to get you back on if the season starts. I do believe the season is going to start because this weekend we are hearing that the season will start. We'd love to get you back on to talk Memphis Grizzlies and NBA basketball very, very soon.
Anytime, guys. I was happy to do it. I really enjoyed this, and I'm sorry it took so long.
It's all right.
With all the uncertainty, everybody just kind of wanted to err on the side of caution. So anytime you guys need me, I'm here for you.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the show.
It's the New York thing. I know. Eric, I know it's the New York thing. Eric, thank you.